I'm Charles, and I'm on a mission to find what's inside everything. To help me get my answers, I have an industrial CT scanner. It takes a whole bunch of X-ray images from all around a subject, and then builds a 3D model revealing every internal detail. Today, we're looking inside of this electric screw linear actuator. I'll shove it upright in a piece of floral foam and get the scan rolling. With just a little bit of electricity, this screw linear actuator is able to lift or lower 270 pounds. How is it able to do that without ripping itself to shreds when it runs out of room to move? Let's look inside and find out. So let's stop screwing around and get to screwing in a straight line. These guys are, reasonably inexpensive units, so I'm not expecting to find particular magic in here, but there should be at least some cool value engineering. So let's dig in. I'm not shocked, but what we're seeing here is, of course, a DC brushed motor, some gear reduction, and a screw, a lead screw of some sort. And I think we can pretty much see all the secrets in one fell swoop. So this should be a kind of fun one. Region of interest 1. Back that way the hell off. Rainbow, let's see all the small things. And just for good luck, let's crop it down to half its thickness so that we're looking along the axis here. Well, let's start at the beginning. I hear it's a good place to start. Power wires. Almost directly into this motor, but first they're going to have to pass through some switches. And those switches are what prevent this thing from tearing itself to shreds in the event that you are still sending it power when it reaches the end of where it's supposed to be moving to. And they are just kind of chilling there. So, having started at the beginning, let's now move to the end. You see, this big block here, that's the part that finally moves. This is where your load is applied, and then this end is stationary down here. So this needs to be attached to a nut of some sort that rides along that screw, and it also needs to be torsionally retained somehow, because otherwise, instead of applying a load, this thing might just start spinning instead of moving up. Let's try and find both of those elements here. So we can see that there is this lead screw down the entire length. And it looks like a pretty chunky little guy. Let's take a look here. Plane. Oh, sweet. Yes, this thing is major diameter of 12 millimeters. That's a pretty big screw. Like, that's a really big screw. If that's made of steel, and I really hope it is, that should be able to hold hundreds of pounds in tension or compression, no problem. So our moving element, which ends in this little hook, goes down inside of the aluminum extrusion itself. Let's try and find where that actually ends in a nut of some sort. That appears to be it. Because if we're still seeing the outer diameter of our working shaft, then we should still be inside of it if there's a part there. And what we're seeing here, I wasn't expecting that. This is the outer wall of our actual moving part. And what's fun is that they've gone and actually threaded in the nut. The nut screws into the shaft, and here's the nut down at the bottom. So this is kind of bewildering. I wouldn't have expected this, but it does make some sense. So this piece of aluminum that is our output shaft, it just has a tapped end in it that they've then threaded in, presumably, I hope at least, like a self-lubricating brass nut that has the coarse thread cut on the inside and then a fine thread on the outside. I take it back, it's not going to be brass. This is going to be a self-lubricating plastic. So like an oil-embedded nylon or something like that. So what's keeping that nut from unthreading? What's making it so that this screw has relative motion and not this screw? My theory, I think it's a good one, is that this thread is greased to hell and back. And this thread is packed full of glue. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. Cheap way to do it, easy way to do it, and it would probably be pretty damn reliable and effective. What's keeping the output shaft torsionally retained? I'm pretty sure that's just going to be some feature that is added on to our nylon insert here that's riding in a groove in the injection molded housing around here, which, I mean, if we actually just look at, yeah, something in here is going to be our torsional retention. We also have this right here, which has a nice groove in it, would be very easy to use as torsional retention. So that's what's keeping the entire output shaft from spinning. And if we look up and down this far enough, I suspect we will find... Oh! There it is. That is our little protuberance that sticks out from that nylon insert and prevents it from spinning just relative to the frame. Now that same protuberance is also going to be what prevents us from ruining this thing if we try and run it too far in one direction or the other. Because this power cable doesn't actually go straight to the motor. It looks like it does, it doesn't. What we also have in here is some limit switches, which we can see at the top and our limit switch at the bottom. And the way these are wired is with some diodes on them. Because the way this thing works is you just reverse the polarity going into it to change the direction of motion. So if you have a diode before each limit switch, you can have one limit switch that prevents motion in one direction when this is all the way extended, and another limit switch that prevents motion when it's all the way retracted. So the way those would wind up wired, let's say we're just in the middle and we send a command going up. That would mean that we actually have positive here and negative here. Current flows this way, goes through this diode, through this closed switch, back to the source, no problem, motor runs. But then, oh my gosh, we've actually reached the end of travel. That means this switch is going to open, which means our current can't flow through this diode, could flow through this diode, but it can't get through this switch. The motor stops. In the other direction, well, same thing applies. We're in the middle and we start running it down. Well, now current tries to go this way, can only go through one diode. Oh boy. Can only go through the one diode. Goes through the switch, motor runs down, and then finally we hit the switch with that little protuberance. That's a lovely word. This switch opens, current can no longer flow, and the motor stops. That is how this whole thing works. It's, I think, everything there is to learn from this. Check in next time, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave us a like. And if you want to see inside of something, leave a comment with your suggestion. If you want to support the channel, share this video with a friend, or check out hacksmith.store. And if you want to see inside of everything, get subscribed.